The call comes at 11:47 on a Tuesday night. No introduction, no pleasantries, just a name. A senator from a state nobody's paying attention to, and 3 words, we need you. 6 years you've spent doing county-level work, mailers, phone banks, knocking on doors in subdivisions where half the houses have Ring cameras and nobody answers anyway. You know how to move numbers a few points in districts that don't make the news. You're good at the quiet work. Apparently somebody noticed, so you take the meeting. It's not at a campaign office. It's a private dining room inside a hotel that doesn't have a sign out front. The man sitting across from you wears no pin, no lanyard, nothing that connects him to anything. He orders water. He never touches it. He tells you the senator has a real path. The money exists. They need someone who can execute without needing the full picture explained to them. You don't ask about the full picture. That's the first rule you learn without anyone stating it. Curiosity here is a liability. Your job isn't to understand the whole thing. Your job is to make your piece of it run perfectly every single time. You're paid $7,500 a month. You move to a city you've never lived in. You share an office with 4 people you'll never fully trust. Each of them is being used for something specific, and none of you are told what the others are doing. You run voter contact operations. You hit your numbers. You keep your head down. You think you've entered politics. You haven't. Not even close. 3 months in, the work changes. There's no announcement, no new title. They just quietly stop giving you the simple tasks and start giving you the complicated ones. You notice it the way you notice a shift in weather. Not a single moment. Just a gradual realization that the air feels different. Now you're managing the story, not policy, not the senator's record or his positions on anything. The story, the specific version of this man that lives in the minds of 40,000 likely voters across 4 counties. You start learning to think in terms of what people believe, why they believe it, and how you change it without them ever sensing the change happened. You work alongside a media consultant who never answers before 10 a.m. and bills $85,000 a month like it's nothing. He shows you how a single phrase, placed in 6 different environments over 3 weeks, stops sounding like a campaign line and starts sounding like something the voter came up with on their own. The first time you see it work, something shifts in your chest. You don't examine it. You move on. The language at this level is its own dialect. Earned media, message discipline, opposition research sequencing. You learn that a story isn't something that happens organically. It's something you build, load, and release on a timeline you control. The senator polls well. Better donors start circling. The office gets quieter in a way that feels less like calm and more like focus. You clear $14,000 in a single month. You eat well. You sleep 4 or 5 hours. You start to feel like you see something most people don't see. You're right about that. You're just wrong about what it means. There's a file on your desk one morning. Plain manila folder. No label. Inside, opposition research on a rival candidate, a congressman who's been quietly gaining traction. Standard material at first, voting record inconsistencies, a few donor conflicts, some public statements that don't match each other, and then, on the last page, something that isn't standard at all. A photograph, a date, a name that has no business being connected to the congressman's public image. You sit with it for a long time. Nobody told you what to do with it. That's deliberate. They want to see what you do when nobody's watching. They want to know what kind of person you are before they show you anything else. You don't leak it direct. Instead, you bring it to the senior strategist, a woman named Marlene, who's been doing this for 22 years and carries the kind of stillness that only comes from having already made every hard call there is. She looks at the photo for maybe 3 seconds and slides it back. You know what to do, she says. You do. You pass it to a journalist you've been cultivating. You don't say anything explicit. You just mention, offhandedly, that there might be something worth looking into around the congressman's schedule from the previous spring. 2 weeks later, it's a news story. His numbers crater. You didn't lie. You can't name a law you broke. You just moved information from one place to another. You repeat that to yourself a few times. Then it stops needing repeating. The senator advances. Marlene pulls you into a smaller meeting. 4 people, a room without windows, no ceremony, no speech. You just understand, sitting there, that you crossed something, a line that doesn't have a name, but that everyone in that Room knows exists. You're at a different altitude now. You're managing a $4.2 million ad campaign across 6 states. 12 people report to you. You wake up in different cities on different mornings. Your routine compresses into a loop. Hotel room, whiteboard, phone calls, sleep. Hotel room, whiteboard, phone calls, sleep. Tuesday and Saturday start to feel identical. There's a distinction you understand now that you didn't before. The difference between working for a candidate and working on one. Working for someone means you serve their vision. Working on someone means you shape it, correct it, redirect it when it wanders somewhere inconvenient. The senator says something at a town hall that creates a problem. You don't panic. You don't call him directly. You call the communications director and give them the exact statement, the wording, the outlet, the timing, the follow-up line if it gets pushed. 40 minutes later, the problem no longer exists. This is what competence feels like at this level. Not brilliance, just speed and precision under pressure. Repeated so many times, it becomes reflex. You know this man's weaknesses better than his wife does. You know which donors call after 9 p.m. and what they actually want. You know which journalists stay friendly and what that friendship costs. You know which staffers are loyal and which ones are already thinking about their next position. Information is the real currency here. Money is just what information converts into when you need it to. You're not uncomfortable anymore with what you do. That fact, if you let yourself sit with it, tells you something. There's a meeting you almost don't get invited to. It's not on any calendar. The location changes twice by text in the hour before it starts. You end up in a conference room on the 14th floor of a building with no visible signage. 8 people. You recognize 3. The other 5, you've heard their names, but you've never been in the same room as them. These are not campaign staff. They're not consultants in any normal sense. These are the people who decide whether a candidate runs at all, not whether they win, whether the entire apparatus of support, money, narrative, and access gets switched on. Without that activation, even a strong candidate stays a regional story. Sitting in that room, you realize something about the senator that restructures everything. He didn't decide to run for president because he wanted to. He ran because this group decided it was time to make him available as a vehicle. You wait for that realization to disturb you more than it does. It doesn't. What they discuss isn't policy. It's architecture. Which donors are committed? Which party figures need to be sidelined? Which media relationships activate at which moment? Which rival has a vulnerability that can be used to quietly clear the primary field before it gets crowded? You contribute one idea. It lands cleanly. The room's energy shifts slightly in your direction. You leave understanding that maybe 40 people in the entire country operate at this layer in any given election cycle. You're not inside that number yet, but you're close enough to feel it pulling. You don't run campaigns anymore. You run outcomes. Your work now exists at a layer with no official name. You're not on any campaign payroll. You operate through a consulting firm with a forgettable name and a short client list. Your contracts don't specify deliverables. They specify access. You have files on people, not surveillance. Nothing that unsophisticated, just patterns, donor histories, relationship maps, favors given, favors owed, votes that contradict public positions, private business arrangements that would look interesting under certain lighting. You rarely use them. That's not the point. The point is that people know you could. A sitting governor is holding his endorsement as personal leverage, angling for a cabinet promise before he'll commit. You meet with him privately. You don't threaten anything. You don't offer anything new. You just let him understand, through the precision of what you know about his last 3 years, that you are not the person he wants sitting on the other side of a drawn-out negotiation. He announces his endorsement 4 days later. You feel nothing about this. That absence of feeling is the part worth examining. You don't examine it. You clear $340,000 that year. You have no social media. You don't give interviews. You exist in the gap between public record and private power. And that gap is exactly where you want to be. The suite costs $6,200 a night, and you're not thinking about that. Tomorrow, the country votes. 3 years of work are inside tomorrow. 3 years of reshaping a man's public identity from the ground up. 100 problems managed before they became visible. Relationships activated. Threats neutralized. Narratives structured. Money moved through 11 different legal channels to land exactly where it needed to land. The candidate calls you directly for the first time in 6 months. His voice is tight. He needs something to hold on to. You give it to him. Clean, specific, numbers he can actually use. When you hang up, you sit in the silence of the suite for a while. You think about who you were 10 years ago, the version of you that made phone calls for a city council race and felt genuinely excited when the precinct numbers came in. That person is still somewhere inside you. You can feel him like a station with bad reception. Faint, but there. You don't miss him exactly. You just notice he's gone quiet. Results come in waves through the night. Your team is in the main suite next door. You step in, give direction when needed, step back out. At 12:41 a.m., the race is called. The room erupts. You stand at the edge of it. A few people look at you, the ones who know what you actually did, not just the work that has a job title attached to it. You nod once, then you leave before the speech. There's no place for you on that stage. The cameras, the confetti, the candidate, and his family. That's the performance. You built the stage. You don't stand on it. You go back to your suite. You order food that sits untouched on the table. You sit by the window and look at a city that doesn't know your name. This is what you work toward. You're not sure what to do with how it actually feels. 4 years pass, then 8, 2 candidates, 2 wins, 1 currently in office, the other already positioned for another run. By any real measure, you are one of 10 people in the country who operate at the level you operate at. Almost nobody outside a very small circle has heard of you. That's not an oversight. That's the whole point. You don't take meetings in other people's spaces anymore. People come to locations you control. You have standing relationships with 3 sitting senators, a former vice president, 2 sovereign wealth fund intermediaries, and a retired intelligence official whose contact list is worth more than most mid-sized companies. You make decisions that shape the lives of millions of people, and not one of those people knows you exist. The power is real, but it doesn't feel the way you thought it would when you were standing outside it. From the outside, ultimate power looks like freedom, the ability to shape reality on your own terms. From the inside, it feels more like permanent obligation. The architecture you built needs constant maintenance. You can't step back from it. It doesn't run without you. The calls still come late. The problems are just larger. A candidate you backed starts drifting. You have a conversation that isn't recorded and won't be remembered by anyone who could repeat it. And afterward, the candidate realigns. You don't feel powerful in that moment. You feel tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. There are nights when you try to remember why you started. The honest answer, the one you'd never say out loud, is simple. You were exceptionally good at something that mattered, and you needed to know how far it went. Now you know. This is how far it goes. A quiet house, a clean phone. The knowledge that the most powerful person in the world got there partly because of the decisions you made in rooms that don't show up anywhere. Your name won't appear in any serious account of this era. The history that gets written will talk about movements, forces, timing. It will name the candidates. It will not name you. You chose this. Given the chance, you'd choose it again. But around 3 a.m., in the specific silence of a house where you mostly live alone, you feel the full weight of what you've accumulated. The compromises stacked on top of each other. The careers you ended. The ones you built around men who didn't entirely deserve them. The narratives you constructed so cleanly that even the people inside them believed them eventually. You don't call it regret. You've never called it that. You call it the cost. Every system extracts one. You just happen to know this system well enough to account for exactly what you paid and when you paid it. Whether that kind of clarity was worth the price, you still haven't decided. Somewhere tonight, a phone is ringing. A campaign office in a state the national press ignores. A junior operative, 27, sharp, patient, good with people in a way that's hard to teach. 3 years of county work behind him. He just got a call from a name he barely recognizes, connected to a name he doesn't recognize at all. Both of those names eventually trace back to you. He's about to walk into a hotel dining room. Private table. The man across from him will order water and never touch it. He'll think he's getting his first real break. He won't ask the right questions. Nobody does at the start. He thinks he knows what this world is. He has no idea what he's walking into. But he'll figure it out. They always do.